American business heroes. Today we're talking about gasoline prices. And if you've ever wondered what it was like to have a business where you had to price a product like gasoline, what are the differences between that and what maybe you're doing? Well, it's pretty crazy, actually. I mean, think about it this way. With your business, do you actually put the price of the product out on the highway every day for everybody to see? There's really very few businesses that actually do this. I mean, sure, you run ads, you have marquees, you have signs, this, that, and the other, but every day, all day long, the price of the gasoline is right there on the road for everybody to see it. It's crazy. So let's get into it a little bit here. So gasoline pricing, I have been asked so many times, oh boy, so many times over the years, what's going on with the gasoline prices? And you know, it's kind of funny. It only comes up when they're going up. Very rarely does it ever happen while the gasoline prices are going down. I mean, I don't get tons of people saying, hey Dave, man, I saw where gasoline prices went down. What the heck's happening? No, it's always when it's going up. I get it. My answer to you, if you've ever asked me, would be some version of, I don't know, or it's really, really complicated. So yeah, gasoline prices are vastly complicated. So let me dive into it just a little bit. Now, the three basic areas in the life of a gasoline, you have upstream, you have midstream, and you have downstream. I'm mainly going to talk about downstream. Upstream is where they pull the crude oil out of the ground and they take it and store it. Midstream is the storage to the refinery, and then downstream is from the refinery to the gasoline pump where you purchase a product. So again, we're going to talk mainly about downstream. I used to coach baseball. I had several teams, different ages, and one day I was going and coaching an older brother's team. Now, the younger brother had a game after that, and the parents said, hey Dave, would you mind taking Dalton to the next game? I said, sure. Hop in the car and let's go. It was about a 20-minute ride, and I'm driving along, and all of a sudden I hear Dalton, he's 5. Hey babe. Yes, Dalton? Why gasoline prices so high? I said, danged if I know, Dalton. Danged if I know. Well, it's not good. I know, Dalton. No, I wish it was lower. Can't you do something about that? No, I really can't. Now, if you're in business, you know that Dalton is probably not hanging out on the playground with the other 5-year-olds talking about the gas prices. So where'd that come from? Mom and Dad are not happy with the gasoline prices, and they're in particular not happy with the gasoline prices at my convenience store. So I did get a big chuckle out of it and got to talk to Mom and Dad about it a little bit. But yeah, it's a hot topic, isn't it? Why the heck are gasoline prices going up? And what can we do about it? And then also the wild card, why can the price of gasoline be so much higher at one location and so much lower at a different location, and it's not very far apart? I can tell you that the gas station owner is not looking to screw you over. That happens very, very rarely. There's other things that come into play. And I can tell you that the gas station owner, they want their gasoline to be as cheap as possible. And you might think, well, why the heck? Well, gas station owners don't price their products based on a percentage markup. They base it on a pennies markup. So as the cost of the product goes up, then their percentage profit actually goes down, and that's not a good thing. Also, there can be credit problems. In other words, just like your credit card, you have a max credit, and you can be paying it off every month and everything is cool, but if you go to that max credit, sometimes they can stop you. Gas station owners have the same situation. They can be paying their bills every day, but it gets to a certain point where they can't buy because they've reached a credit limit, and they have to reestablish that with the oil company or the transport company that's delivering the product. So they don't want it to be high. The other thing is they don't want you coming in griping. It's no fun. If you go in, you gripe to the cashier, you gripe to the manager, if the owner's around, you're griping to them. They don't want that. They don't want the gasoline prices to be high. They want it to be as cheap as possible. So let's take a look at this bird's eye view. Here's the United States of America, and you see these different colors. Well, these are different pricing districts. It's actually called PAD, Petroleum Administration for Defense Districts. This was put together after World War II to organize the allocation of fuels. In other words, you wanted to make sure that every area of the United States had gasoline, diesel fuel available, so there wouldn't be a shortage or a run out causing big problems. Each one of these districts has a different price. Each terminal in each district has a different price. Each terminal in each district for each brand, each grade of gasoline has a different price every day. Every day it changes. Sometimes, not that often, but sometimes it can change multiple times a day. There's also different types of gasoline, obviously, that are required in different areas, and this causes supply problems. Supply problems means higher prices. Each pad has a different price. Each pricing district has a different price. Does that mean that the pricing can be vastly different from one to the next? Oh yeah, it really can. Well, what causes that? It can be caused by the distance from the refining point. It can also be caused from the distance from the supply point. Also, any supply disruptions like equipment malfunction, maintenance issues, fires, explosions that happen at the refinery. If there's a major refinery that goes down, gasoline prices will go up across the board. Can prices and product from one pricing district end up in another? Yes, big time. You can get different prices, vastly different prices from one to the other, and you can have distributors, oil companies, transportation companies that the closest terminal to their location is actually located in a different pricing district. So they go into one district, they pull product, and they take it into another. And depending on the area, and if you look, I'm in Kentucky, not too far from the Gulf Coast, not too far from the Eastern. So if you look at this map, again, you can see where if you have a distributor that's located to the south of me, located in Kentucky, then they can actually pull product out of a different district and bring it up. So I know one time there was a difference between 50 cents a gallon. And if I could pull product at 50 cents per gallon cheaper, that's 8,000 gallons that's loaded onto a transport truck. So you're talking a savings of $4,000. And you're doing that 4 times a day. So that's $16,000. And you're doing that every day of the week. So you can see it massively adds up in a hurry. So you can get gasoline from one district into another, one station that has a supplier that can do that, and another station across the street that has a supplier that can't do that, just depending on where they're located. What pricing district would you think is the cheapest out of all of them that are located in the United States? Well, if you guessed the Gulf Coast, you would be right. If you are in that Gulf Coast market, you can see that that is the cheapest area. And the further that you get away from that, generally speaking, the more expensive the gasoline is. But there are other factors that come into play as well. So you might ask, well, what about diesel fuel? It's less refined than gasoline. Shouldn't it be cheaper? Well, on one hand, yes, but there's some things that come into play here. There are different types of diesel fuel across the United States, and they have to be supplied to different areas. This creates, again, a supply problem. Supply problems mean higher prices. Also, since the diesel is dirtier than gasoline, you have to send it through a filtering process that pulls sulfur out, and that's pricey as well. The amount of gas refined can take over in some areas, leaving a shortage of crude oil to be refined into diesel fuel. If there is a low supply and a high demand, the price goes up. So you may be asking yourself, okay, well, so Dave, what about these gas stations? Again, high price over here, across the street, a different price. It goes up, it goes down. One moves, somebody else doesn't move. They all seem to move in conjunction with each other at times. So what's going on with that? So let's talk about your local gas station. As I alluded to before, one gas station can be supplied by a wholesaler, a distributor, an oil company that's pulling from a different district, different pricing district, and the guy right across the street can be pulling from another one. So you have differences there. There also can be inventory problems where a gas station buys 8,000 gallons worth of gasoline, puts it in the ground, and the very next day it goes down 20 cents a gallon. But he's stuck with it. He has to pay it. Gas stations are slow to raise prices and they're slow to drop prices. Well, why is that? You would think, well, they're going to raise them quick, aren't they? No, because they don't want to raise their prices. They really don't. So they are slow a lot of times in stepping up the price at the pump. But then since they've lost that profit, they have to be slow when the price starts to come back down. And again, with the inventory situation, that also makes it slow for them to drop prices as the price of the product comes back down. And generally speaking, I would say that most places will change their price once one changes. The rest of them usually follow suit in a 24-hour time frame. Are there differences in the gasolines and the grade of gasoline? And you may have heard the raw gasoline that goes to a terminal can be the same for one brand and the next. And you think, well, what the heck's going on with that? Does that mean all the gasolines are the same? No, absolutely not. Not in any way, shape, or form. There are differences. So at the terminal, depending on how many different brands that particular terminal serves, they will have storage tanks. And the storage tanks contain the detergent that is put in the better gasoline products. Taking Shell as an example, a terminal may sell gasoline to a Speedway and they may sell gasoline to a Shell. But there's a Shell tank sitting there with their branded detergents, and when the transporter, the tractor trailer, goes in, swipes the card to get in, that card says, hey, I'm here to get Shell gasoline. And when they pull up to the rack and put the hose in, attach all the hoses, they start pumping that gasoline out, it's also pulling from the Shell branded detergent, making it branded Shell gasoline. But what about the grades? Well, you have low grade, mid grade, high grade in a lot of locations. Should you use a high grade? Well, it's really up to you. You're going to get more power a little bit. With some brands, you're going to get a better detergent mixture than the lower grades. So what do I use personally, say in my motorcycles? Well, it's got to be the best. So what's the best? Shell V-Power premium gasoline. And I don't sell that anymore, so I don't have a dog in that fight, as they say. It's the best gasoline. So if you want the best, it's Shell V-Power. Has the highest amount of detergents in there, highest octane, and it's just great. But again, the difference can be slight in power. It'll keep your engine cleaner than the other brands that are out there. If that's important to you, then it is. If it's not, then it's not. That's your choice. So is it possible for these gas station owners to mix other products in to bring the cost down? Not really. I mean, probably the most common thing that anybody would say was, well, water it down. Well, no, you can't water it down because gasoline and water do not mix. They separate. The water goes down to the bottom of the tank because it's heavier than the gasoline. Well, I heard so-and-so got water in their gasoline. How's that possible? Yeah, it's possible. And I'll tell you, there's a couple of different ways that can happen. One is that the storage tank that's underneath the ground, it's big. It can be 8,000, 10, 12,000 gallons. It's located in the ground at a constant temperature, about 55 degrees in most places. So when gasoline is delivered, it can be a different temperature, typically warmer. And when it goes into the cold, it can condensate, creating moisture on the sides and the top of the tank that trickles down and goes down to the bottom of the tank. Does that mean that you're going to get that in your gasoline all the time? No, not at all, because there's a couple of things that they do. First of all, the pipe that comes down from the fill cap at the top doesn't go all the way to the bottom of the tank. It's several inches off the bottom. Also, tanks are typically tilted just a little bit, so when the water goes down, the condensation goes down to the bottom. It not only lands at the bottom flat, but it goes to one end of the tank. and the tanks monitor this to know if there's any condensation in there. You're probably not ever going to have a situation where that comes into play. So how else can water get into a tank? Well, there's a fill pipe there, and at the top of the fill pipe, there's a lid. And if somehow water gets into that lid, then it can go into the tank. Happened to me one time. It was after a big snowfall. We had the lot plowed, but what happened was it created a dike around the fuel tank area, and it rained hard, so that the water couldn't escape, and we had a lid off of a tank, so the water went in. 25 years ago this happened, so it is possible. Now, how are you going to know if you have water in the tank of your car? If your gas tank was low when you filled up, you're going to know right away. Probably a few hundred feet down the road from the gas station, for sure within a quarter to a mile, and your car's going to die right away. So there's no situation where it sputters much. It usually just dies right away, and you're going to look around and you're going to see other cars that are dying as well. So that's how you're going to know. It's not a situation where it affects the performance of your vehicle just a little bit. It's going to be drastic. If you're a business owner, you might think, so how did I price gasoline? Well, I priced it so we would have a healthy business that would stay in business, and we didn't take advantage of people. Every business owner has to do that to stay in business. I never cut corners, but you were guaranteed that you were getting the product that you thought you were getting. It also meant that we had great employees that were there, and they were paid well for what they were doing. It meant that we had a clean store. We had equipment that was working, or if it wasn't working, it got fixed right away. And it meant that you could trust us. And that's the best thing a business owner can do, is have a business that you can trust. So do me a favor. When you go to the gas station, if the price is up, don't bitch at the cashier standing there, please. Spread some kindness. And if the price really, really bothers you, then put the lottery tickets back and think about the price that you're paying for that bottled water in a bottle, and how much you're paying for that. Because the world could use a little bit more kindness. And am I right there? Yeah, so go treat those cashiers with respect and be kind to them, and have a great day.